Okay, so hello and welcome everybody to Witch and Womb's weekly series called Witches in the World, where we interview, highlight, and honor amazing women doing amazing things throughout our world. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Marina Schroeder, the author of Ignite Your Inner Goddess, A Journey to Remember Your Feminine Essence, Reconnect to Your Natural Rhythms and Cycles of the Feminine Experience, and Ignite the Goddess Within. Welcome, Marina. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited about this book, and I can't wait to dive into why you wrote this book and who this book is for. But before we get into all of that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you started on your healing journey?
Awesome. So a couple years ago, I started what I refer to as my conscious spiritual or healing journey. And the reason I say conscious is because I believe that from birth, from this moment that we are birthed into this reality, that is when we actually start our healing journey, right? But we're not maybe conscious of it, right? Right yet. At least I wasn't until a couple years ago. So August of 2015, I had this strong feeling, which now I understand is intuition, but I had this really strong feeling that was guiding me to go off of birth control pills. Okay. And let me break this down for you just for a second, because you're like, okay, this is going in a weird direction, but I promise this talks all about womb magic. So
one of my favorite subjects, so I'm
yes.
very
Okay, so story time. I was on the pill for 10 years straight. And the reason I was on it was originally for acne. But granted, what the doctor didn't know, yes, actually, that's a large percentage of women are prescribed the pill just for acne. Anyway, so another side story. So what the doctor didn't know was, because I was too scared and ashamed and embarrassed to talk about our periods, our feminine cycle. I had super irregular periods. Like I'm talking months in between, like 6 months even.
Wow.
And when they did come, it was super painful. And really my memories are just like curled up in a ball, like, and a ton of pain. I know, crazy. Anyways, so I had this strong feeling, intuition, like, hey, you need to get off the pill. Meanwhile, I'm like, are you serious? I'm so scared. I don't want to get off the pill because all my memories are terrible.
Yeah.
So, sure.
So was the pill helping with the pain of your periods or?
Well, yeah, good question. And so it masks symptoms. It doesn't fix anything. That's like a total myth. But here's where it gets like super magically interesting, which is what I love.
I love magic.
Yes. And this is why I'm sharing this story. So I was on the beach with some of my friends, and one of them brought this oracle card deck. Now, I never pulled a card in my life, like have no idea what's going on, right? I just decide, oh, what the heck, like I'm gonna pull a card. So I pull a goddess card, and it's the goddess Coventina, and we're at the beach, right? Like that's her jam. Okay, that's another story. I know, it's great. I love her. So the message was about purification, and I don't remember verbatim, but essentially it was like your body is full of toxins and impurities, and now is the time to like cleanse it out. So I just got chills. Here, this is the moment where I officially signed what I call the divorce papers to my relationship with the pill.
Ooh, I love that.
Yes,
wow.
That was the moment, and this was all Goddess Coventina. Like, thank you, right? So, okay, now I know you're like, okay, this is great. I love the story, magic, la la la. But like, what does this have to do with our womb magic in my book, right? So here, I just want to drop a major truth bomb for women everywhere. Hormonal birth control shuts down 3/4 of our cycle, our natural feminine cycle. That's 75% we don't even experience. So we have 4 phases to our feminine cycle. Mini bio lesson right here. Menstruation, follicular, ovulation, and luteal phase. So how the hormonal birth control pill works, and not just the pill, I mean, the patch, ring, shot, like hormonal birth control is it prevents ovulation. And so when we don't have the ovulation, we don't have the luteal phase, and we technically, here's another truth bomb, we don't have a true period. So when you stop taking the active pills, or when you take the ring out or the patch out, the bleeding that you see is not a period. It's called a pill bleed or a breakthrough bleeding. I know. Let that sink in for a hot moment.
Yeah. Wow. Is it like old blood and old stuff, or what is it exactly?
No, yeah, and we could totally go in that direction,
okay.
but which I love, believe me. But essentially, it's not old blood or anything like that. It's just estrogen helps, which is what's in the pill, estradiol. It helps build up the uterine lining, and then when we take it out and we stop using it, we just shed that. But it's not an actual period. I know, it's totally crazy. Women need to know about this. But anyways, let's connect this back to magic, right? So we we shut down 3/4 of our cycle because it prevents ovulation. So we have 4 phases, right? And these 4 phases of our cycle, here's what I love, is connected with the phases of the moon, the 4 directions, the 4 elements, the 4 feminine archetypes. I mean, yes, there are 4. I know we usually talk about 3, but there are 4. So here's what I've experienced, and I've witnessed countless women experience this too. So we shut down 3/4 of our cycles, which translates to this disconnect with our feminine essence, what I call our inner goddess, our feminine magic, to quite a large degree. Granted, it's not shut down all the way, right? Like, we always have connection to it, but to a very large degree, we are disconnected. So a part of our feminine magic is this creativity, right? Like, that's one of our feminine superpowers, creativity. Hello. Absolutely. So this creativity is totally stifled when you're on hormonal birth control. I've experienced it. Again, witnessed tons of women experience this. Like, they're, whatever, could go down that road. Anyways, sure. So
I mean, it's like a chronic issue in our society for sure. Like, women not tapping into their feminine essence, and then you have a medical or like a medicine that's blocking that to even more of a degree. Like, that's crazy. That's kind of like a mind-blowing, truth bomb. That's nuts.
Okay, total truth bomb. I know. Yeah. So yes, in my book, thank you for talking about this and sharing it. In my book, Ignite Your Inner Goddess, hey, just went live on 12/12. Totally a magic day. By the way, that was the day my publisher picked. Like, I didn't pick that for any, but it was totally like, okay, obviously that has to be the day.
The portal, right? That's amazing.
Total portal, I know. So in this book, I guide you through 5 energetic gateways. And I talk about how to go off of birth control pills. And even if you're not on birth control, I still guide you through how to optimize your feminine health from this holistic mind, body, and spirit approach. And whether or not you're trying to get pregnant or you're not trying to get pregnant, like, I address all of that in here. I even show a natural birth control option, and this natural birth control option, I've used it for years since going off the pill, and it helps. It really does. And I'm not just saying this, it really does help you attune to your feminine body and the 4 phases. You'll be able to confidently know which of the phases that you're in, which alone is so powerful and so magical, because then you can connect it with the directions, elements, moon, so on and so forth, right? It's totally great.
It's like astrology on crack, or its own astrology, your own body's astrology, right? Like, it's like,
yeah,
it's like a
I love that
book of who you are, you know. I love that. I only have been like tracking my cycle and making these connections for like about a year. And when I started to do it at the beginning, I was kind of like, like, is this woo-woo stuff? And I'm really woo-woo. And I was even thinking, like, is this like real? Like, I don't know if I should do this or not. But then I started to actually do it. And then when you start to like tune into the waxing phase of the moon and how that's affecting your cycle and like everything is like, holy shit. Like, I cannot believe that like I didn't have this information from the first moment that I started to sleep. Right? Like, why don't we give children like this information?
Yes, that is where this came from. Legit. I was like, every woman needs to know about this information. And that way they can make informed decisions. Like, if they do want to go on hormonal birth control, great. No problems at all. I totally support that. I just believe like every woman should have informed consent, like true informed consent. Like, hey, let's talk about all the things. And then you make your decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for women who, you know, were like you, were going off birth control, like that seems really, really scary, right? Like, and maybe they're not having any problems that is, or like intuition that's guiding them too. What would you say to those women of maybe why they should kind of look into it? Why should they like read this part of your book, and why should they start to like question themselves about alternative ways of connecting with your cycle?
Yeah, good question. So I would say it goes back to the informed consent. Like, you should really know, like, if you're on birth control. When I was on it, I had no idea about any of this. And I wish I did, because
I don't think a lot of people do.
yeah. So I think it just goes back to really knowing what is going on in your body, and just having the empowered choice to know, like, okay, this is what I choose and I'm okay with that. And this feels right for me right now in my journey, you know. And then if you ever do feel like you want to go off because you want to have kids or you don't, whatever, then at least you know how. And yeah, this will guide you and it'll help you get there.
I love that. And what about for the people that have like endometriosis or some like, you know, very debilitating womb experiences? Does this book apply to those types of people as well?
Good question. So I don't go into the specifics of endo or adenomyosis or any of those more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Those like deeper conditions. I don't go into those specifically, but the guidelines still apply as far as like how to get off. But if you do have any of those, I absolutely recommend, like 100%, working with a specialist in those cases. Now, granted, this book is great because it still guides you with how to get off, and it also connects like that mind, body, and spirit, which not everyone might not, even the specialist, I don't know, you might have to find a special specialist that would be more integrated in this approach, which they're definitely out there, right? But at least you'll have the connection and know like the more woo-woo energy, mind, body, spirit aspect of it too. And then like if you wanted to work with like a pelvic physical therapist or an endometriosis expert, like you'll have that knowledge and wisdom too. So
I love it. It really is just the foundation of connecting with your body in a real way. In a real way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I get real in here, like real, no joke. Like I break it down for you. We talk about periods. We talk about what the periods should look like, the clots, the blood texture. I mean, how much quantity, right? How many times have you heard a woman say like, I have really heavy periods? Well, first of all, they're on the pill, so you don't really have a period, but that's fine. And then second of all, like I talk about actually like quantity, like milliliters, you know, approximately, like how much really is a heavy period? What's considered quote unquote in the normal range? Like I talk all about that in here. Not everyone talks about it, right? But we need to know.
Like it's so bizarre. When I started on this journey, like those were the first things that I was like Googling, like, right? Yeah. Like I got my first moon cup and I had no idea how much I was actually bleeding. And I'm like, is this normal? Is this too little? Is this too much? Like I had no idea, and nobody's talking about that. So I'm
totally
so your book.
Yes. And by the way, if you do use a cup, which I love, but I know not all women like them, totally up to you. I talk about other period options in here, but if you use a cup, you might see not just blood, but like clear liquid and other things in the cup too. Totally normal. I talk about that in here too. It could be cervical fluid, whatever. So don't freak out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love
Anyways,
that. Yes.
yeah.
We need to get real. Like, I don't know why we don't talk about this, right? Like, we give each other like details about sex and about, like
Yeah.
positions and everything, but we don't talk about our periods, which is like the most normal, everyday, experience of a woman, our cycle, and there's no conversation about it. So I'm like so eternally grateful for you for putting
Oh,
thoughts
thank
on
you.
the paper so that we can actually have a conversation, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't just talk about of course, I talk about all the things, period, feminine cycles, like from a functionally nutrition perspective, but I also go into the woo woo, which I know your community loves, right?
Yeah.
So I talk about how to encourage to sync your cycle with the moon. I talk about sacred ceremonies, which is such a huge part of not only my personal journey, but that is what I share with women in my community directly. Full and new moon ceremonies. I even share a very powerful ceremony of reclaiming your power. Like, no joke. I even talk about a story in here of one woman's account, and it brings me to tears like every time because it's amazing.
Oh, so cool.
And
Yeah.
I go really deep. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Continue, please.
Just like into this whole like the four theme, right? Like I talk so much deeper about like what phases of the moon and which direction and the archetypes and the elements and even the magic number of four. Like, what is this about four in the feminine, right? Like I talk all about that too, like what it means. I go about like intuitive tools, energetic protection, this idea that our womb and like sacred and what's the word I'm looking for, boundaries, is such an inherent part of our womb. And I even talk about like the energy of periods having this like downward energy. I mean, oh, and one of my favorite things is evoking the white flame. Okay, first of all, no joke. But here I share it with you in the book. Evoking the white flame to do a house clearing. P.S. It's amazing and it totally works. Yes, I share it with you because it's when we need this safe and sacred space, and that's what I talk about with like our womb energy, right? Like we need this safe and sacred space in our home to feel safe, to I don't want to use the word surrender. I think safety, to feel safe in order to have this feminine experience, right? Like if we are totally in fight, flight, or freeze all the time, even I talk about that biochemically and how that impacts our hormones, right? The stress hormone can delay our cycles. And we actually like think about it. And I think they've done animal studies on this before, but when we are not feeling safe, and we are constantly in this like stress, fight, flight, or freeze mode, our feminine bodies actually delay ovulation because ovulation means like, okay, our bodies are trying to get pregnant every month, right? But when we're not feeling safe, a natural like magic of our bodies is like, okay, whoa, stop the presses. We're not going to have ovulation because we can't get pregnant because we are not safe right now. So anyways, got the chills, but that's how it all works. Like it's all connected. And I talk about all of this.
Wow. Well, that's so like I just had this huge aha moment as you were talking because I am a birth doula and we talk all the time about women when they give birth that there's really an important need to feel safe.
Yeah.
How do you do that if you're doing it in a hospital setting or whatever?
Yeah.
And so that like idea makes so much sense to me, but when you just applied it to actually our cycles, like that just like went in my mind. Duh, that makes so much sense. And Marina, just to share like a personal journey, like my husband and I have been really struggling with fertility, and we have been basically doing everything that you can even think of, from all around. And I think this just might have been the missing key, because earlier I had the realization that even though I don't drink a lot of coffee, when I do, like, I just go into this like very hyper focused mode. Like I can do a lot of work, but there's like this energy of like, I don't feel safe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like even the little amount of energy or of coffee that I'm drinking can be creating that in my body. And I'm like, maybe that's what's going on.
It absolutely is. And I even talk about PS caffeine in here. I was like a major coffee drinker. Like I worked corporate pharmaceuticals and throat chakra clearing. Just kidding. Anyways, I worked corporate pharmaceuticals. I basically ran on caffeine like all day. But here I talk about the connection. So how caffeine relates to the body is stress, right? This feeling of not feeling safe, this jittery, crazy feeling, and it's stress in the body. And that is cortisol. That's the power of cortisol, which is great. We're all addicted to it in our society, right? Like, give us the coffee. But here's the downside of it. It translates to stress in the body. And there's this thing called, again, mini bio lesson here.
I love it.
So there's this thing called pregnenolone steal. So like pregnenolone is referred to as the mother hormone. And first of all, I love that just because the mother hormone. But anyway, so cortisol, well, before I get to cortisol, progesterone comes from this mother hormone, pregnenolone. Now, here's kind of a crazy thing that happens, and this is why it's called pregnenolone steal. Cortisol is made from progesterone. So when we are feeling stressed out, then the cortisol steals from progesterone. So when we have progesterone set aside for our cycle, or, that's not the exact terms, but just for sake of argument here or painting the picture.
Right.
So cortisol will take away from the progesterone that's meant for the second half of your cycle in the luteal phase. And so when you're stressed out all the time and you're not having enough progesterone, and so it's a crazy inherent connection. And I talk about the whole pregnenolone steal in this book too. So
I think you just solved my fertility issue. I'm getting like up and down my spine, like ding, 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 ding. Wow.
Well, take a look. I know you have the book. So just when we get off the call, just type in cortisol, Control F, cortisol, find it in the document.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's so amazing. Okay. So how can people get your book?
Yes. So because I actually, our 99-cent like ebook sale was technically supposed to end yesterday, but here's something really cool for your readers. I talked to the publisher this morning and I was like, hey, so I'm doing this interview with Witch and Womb. And they said, okay, well, we're going to extend the 99-cent ebook. So we're going to extend it. I don't know when this is going to go live, but let me know. I'll extend it until then.
Okay, perfect.
So on Amazon.com, just search Ignite Your Inner Goddess, and the ebook is 99 cents. Now, granted, I do have journal pages in here. So I know women, and I'm kind of the same. So let me find. So I have journal pages in here, and I have like a ton of journal prompts. Oh, sorry.
Oh, cool. Yes.
And so if you want the hard copy, totally get it, and you can journal right in here. I made this just like a private journal, but the e-copy is great because even when you're like on, out and about, you can totally just be like, what was that again? And like go back in it. So anyways, the hard copy is 19.
Cortisol.
Yeah, exactly. Right after the call. Cortisol, caffeine, pregnenolone. What was she talking about? Anyway, so awesome. Amazon.com.
Yeah, Amazon.com. Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, do you have any other offerings? Like if somebody reads your book and is just like, oh my gosh, I want to work with this woman, or I need to know more information, what else are you offering in the world?
Thank you for that. I almost forgot. So couple of things. If you're local in Southern California, I'm in Orange County. I host monthly women's circles where we do a ceremony of some type. We basically connect with our feminine energy. It's a little bit different each time, but check it out. I also do sacred sound baths once a month at the local yoga studio. And sometimes more often, it kind of depends, but at least once a month. And then I also, if you go to my website, I have a few online courses where if you just want to learn about how to track your cycles, and I'm not talking about just marking the days when you have a period or a pill bleed, right? I'm talking about this natural birth control method. This also, you can use it as natural birth control, but you can also use it if you're wanting to get pregnant too, because basically it tells you the days in your cycle when you're fertile and infertile. So you can use it however you like. Anyway, so I have a course on that too. It's called Cycle Charting 101. I break it all down for you. I also have a course on shamanic journeying. If you're wondering about, what is that? I keep hearing about shamanism. What's the big deal? So I break it down for you. And there is one more. Oh, yes. I can't believe I forgot this. Sorry. But it's the sacred art of vaginal steaming. So I am a vaginal steam. Yes. I'm a certified facilitator for that. And if you want to know about it, because you keep hearing about it and you're like, what is this thing about Gwyneth Paltrow and the whole deal? I don't talk about Gwyneth in my course, but I talk about how to get started with vaginal steaming. So there you go.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy that you said that, because I am so in love with that process. It's so sacred. It feels, I didn't think I would be into it. Like, I'm a little bit of an impatient person. I just feel like, oh, what am I doing, And I'm telling you, it took me about 2 cycles, like 2 months to kind of get into it. And all of a sudden, I just had felt like my heart just dropped right down into my womb. And it was deep. It's like a deep release, it's so tender. I don't know. I don't even know how such a spiritual experience.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And so, yes, you can use vaginal steaming for tons of things like fertility, cramps. Some women even use it for vaginal infections, cysts. You can use it for endometriosis and things like that. Now, I don't talk about those advanced conditions in my course. I'm just showing you the basics, the foundations to get you started. But anyways, tons of women, you can use it for all of those. But you can also use it, which a ton of women do, for this energetic connection to your womb, right? Also hygienic maintenance for your periods. Anyways, I'll stop because
whole other interview. Just
a whole other interview.
Oh, that's so awesome. Oh my God. I feel like we just became best friends. I am in love with everything that you're offering in the world.
Yeah.
So into it. I'm in San Diego actually. So I'm gonna have to do one of your circles because I'm close to do that. I would love
Where
that.
in San Diego?
Oceanside. So I'm in the north
Oh
part.
my gosh, are you really? Okay, so I went to Fallbrook High School, by the way. My parents are still down there. So
okay, we need to connect then.
Totally.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. Okay, so before we close, is there anything that you would like to offer to our audience? I think you were talking about doing some kind of breath meditation real quick that we can all do to kind of close the circle and integrate all this juicy information.
Totally. Yes, love it. Almost forgot. So go ahead and close your eyes, even if you're listening. Well, if you're driving, obviously, don't close your eyes. But
don't close your eyes if you're driving.
Close your eyes or close your energetic eyes. And place one hand on your womb space and one hand over your heart. And just take a moment to just attune to each of those spaces. Now, take a deep breath in through your belly, through your womb. Really have it expand out. And then audible open mouth exhale out. We'll do that 2 more times. So inhale. And exhale. One more time. Inhale. This time, hold it at the top. Take one more sip of air. And exhale. Now, just take a moment to notice any shifts with just those 3 cleansing breaths. Maybe you feel tingles or chills, energetic chills up and down your spine. Maybe warmth under your hands. Just take a moment to attune to your feminine body. Feel your heart beat. Feel your hand connected with your womb. And the energy is flowing. Whether you feel it or not, it is. Now, thank your body. When was the last time you said thank you to her? Thank you, womb. Thank you, heart. Thank you, body, for showing up for me every single day, every moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And when you feel complete, slowly blink your eyes open. And there you go.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing talking with you. We totally need to connect.
Absolutely. It kind of blows my mind. I'm just like obsessed with everything you're about, and
Yeah.
so excited to dive into your book. And I'm so excited that we get to share your book with all of our viewers. So you guys go out and buy this book, download it on Kindle for 99 cents. It's going to be amazing. The teachings will change your life. They really, really will. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being today. And I just want to say, anybody who's watching, if you haven't joined the Witch and Womb Coven, go ahead and join at www.witchandwomb.com. And we will also put all of Marina's information on how you can access her, a link to the Amazon site, and any other information if you're looking to dive in deeper with her. So
Thank you.
love you guys all so much. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.